hey, if you're a US citizen and you want to protect your retirement and you haven't got our free ebook yet, then you're really missing out. So click on the link in the description and find out how you can secure your retirement and your future today. Hi, Matt. How's it going?
All good, thanks, mate. You?
Yeah, we're all good. Just
We're always good, aren't we?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Just trying to help as many people as we can and fight through the information of what's actually happening and what we're being told is happening.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, it's all very interesting. Like James was saying before about this heat wave that we're apparently all having.
Yeah.
Um, but then you look out your window and there's no heat wave. So yeah, interesting contrast.
Yeah. And
Mate,
you speak to people you know abroad that are telling us it's no different to what it's ever been in Spain and Greece and places like that. It's no different.
Southern Europe has always been pretty warm this time of year, and
Yeah.
Mm.
you'll, that's why we all get on our holidays and go and fly off, and
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
I know.
and
Shock
all the
horror.
amazing, yeah, just crazy stuff. Weird days.
Yeah,
Very weird, isn't
definitely.
it? Yeah.
Definitely.
But when you know, like we said earlier, when you know what's happening, what's behind why they're saying that, trying to push us down a certain agenda, then
Yeah,
you understand it, don't you? You understand why they're doing it, don't you?
Hmm.
exactly right.
Mm.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
I think for us on this journey, we've always just wanted people to ask questions and not,
Yeah.
people look at the TV screen and it says there's a heat wave, but they don't look out the window to check whether it's actually happening.
Mm.
And that's
Yeah.
Mm.
that's
Or
always
Is that
been what,
reality?
phone somebody that they know in the country that's apparently experiencing this heat wave. Ask them if there's anything unusual happening. Or
yeah,
is
Yeah.
it always like this time of year? Because
yeah,
from my memory, I've been to many places in Southern Europe at this time of year, and it's always bloody hot.
yeah.
Mm.
That's why we
Mm.
go there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's why we go there now with speedos, isn't it, Adam? Yeah,
Yeah,
scaring the
yeah,
locals.
yeah. That's it. And I think that's all we've ever want people to do. Just ask questions of what you're being told. Ask questions of what
Yeah,
we're telling you of everyone. Don't rely on anybody. There's
yeah.
nothing bad that can come of asking questions. So
Mm.
That's
we
what
actually
that's
want to
about talking to you boys, because I like asking questions, as you may have noticed over the
Yeah,
last
yes.
it's
year.
good.
And one of the questions that I wanted to ask was
Mm.
pensions. What's happening with them?
Yeah,
Oh, well,
so
yeah.
they're not doing what they're not doing what they were advertised to do. Let's say it that way.
Hey,
Um that
Mm.
they were set up originally to fund this amazing lifestyle later in life where maybe you can't work or don't want to work, and they're not doing that for a lot of people. So we want to give some information and prompt people to ask some questions about their own pension, because they're complicated. They're complicated for a reason, we think, so people don't
Mm.
understand them. You're not taught about them in school. Again, another thing you're not taught about, but it's a
Mm.
huge part of people's life. Retirement, I mean, people can retire and be in retirement and have to fund 20 years of retirement these days. It's not
Mm.
unheard of,
yeah,
which is a big
Mm.
chunk of your life.
It's a
So
big concern. We have a lot. It isn't just what we believe. It's our customers, our followers, people get in contact with us, and they're worried.
mm,
Rightly so, though.
yeah, definitely. Well, look, before we start, just to say, none of this is advice. We don't give financial
Mm.
advice. We don't want to give advice. This is just information, education, and our thoughts and opinions. Do your
Mm.
own research, take it or leave it. This is how we
Mm.
how we roll. But I'm sure after this, it will hopefully move people to a point where they want to do something, and just
Mm.
look into what they've got, look into the setup that they've got, and ask a few questions. And if that's all we do,
Mm.
we've done our job,
Mm.
Matt. There.
At least you'll know what to ask then. Hopefully, after this video, you'll know what to ask because it's just a
Yes.
minefield. It can be. I think we're kept in the dark deliberately, aren't we?
Yeah.
Pensions are very hard to understand deliberately, but we'll go into it
Mm.
now anyway.
So let me share this with you. We want to just take it back, just so people understand where pensions came from. So the UK state pension started in 1909, so many, many years ago. And the interesting thing was with the state pension then is there was 38 million people in the UK. The qualifying age for that state pension was 70 years old. So you had to live till 70 to qualify. But the life expectancy in 1909 was 45 for a male and 49 for a female. So the result is that you would have to live 20 to 25 years over the average life expectancy to qualify.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's and only a really small percentage of people qualified. It was like 1% or something like that. And there was other limitations. You know, if you were, there was some weird kind of limitations like
alcohol, wasn't drinking.
Yeah, something if you'd been caught drunk and disorderly or something like you didn't qualify as well.
Yeah.
So
that'd be the whole of the British Army when I was serving anyway. That'd be everybody then.
Yeah. So it's
Wouldn't
but
qualify.
the fact was that it was set up in a sustainable way. So there was a lot of people putting into it, but only very few actually took out of it. Which, like it or not, that was the way that it was set up, and it was sustainable. Let's look at 2022. 67 million people. The qualifying age is 66. We know it's going up to 67 and beyond. The life expectancy is for a male 79 and for a female 83. So that means that to qualify, you have to be 13 to 17 years under the average life expectancy, meaning that it opens the floodgates for people to qualify. And we're not here to say whether that's good or bad or right or wrong, or, you know, people should take it or shouldn't take it. We just want to contrast the fact that it was set up in a sustainable way where hardly anyone qualified, but everyone contributed. And now it's the mass number of people are qualifying. And that's the amount of people contributing is getting smaller and smaller over time. And how does that make people feel? Do they feel like they can rely on it? We would say that you shouldn't rely on any system or government or anything like that, because it's set up in an unsustainable way. And you can see that from the stats here. So just bear that in mind. If you took a random sample of 100 people at retirement, this is where they would stand. So 1 would be classed as wealthy, 4 financially independent, 41 would be still working, not because they want to, but because they have to. But 54 would be dead broke. And we mean by that relying on handouts to just pay basic living expenses. And that the result of that is that 95% of people are probably not where they wanted to be when they first set out in their working life. You know, we're all painted this picture of retirement. You know, you see it on the adverts, you know, going on cruises, and it's this kind of life of luxury and no worries. But it's not the reality for 95% of people. And this worries us because nobody set out to be dead broke or still working at retirement. I'm sure everyone set out to be wealthy, at least financially independent. So the system is broken. Well, I always say it's broken. James thinks it's rigged that way on purpose, that people don't.
Yeah, it's not broken. It works very well for the wealthy, for the people that understand the game. It's normal people like us were never taught. We're never taught this. We're never taught the game. We're never shown how to play the game and win, were we? We never.
No one ever
even mentioned it in school, do they?
No, they don't talk about pensions, retirement, and also I think because it seems so far away. And look, people have worries and concerns and things that they focus on here and now. That it's easy to kick the can down the road, but like we said before, potentially 20 years of retirement that you need to fund, and the earlier you start, the better. This is the main kind of point is time is your friend. If you've got time, then you can turn things around. Most people, in our experience, only look at what their pension, their retirement accounts are going to give them in the last kind of 3 to 5 years away from retirement. So they look at it when it's it's kind of within their sight. But at that point, it's very difficult to turn things around. It really is. You need time.
You can protect what you've made, what you've got now, right now, today, but to turn it around and get more from it would be very difficult, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And that's the scary bit. We've said this before. The scary bit to me is I speak to so many people and they always say, oh, I've got my pension, I'll be fine. And that's how flippant they are. They don't even know what it's invested in or anything. I've got my pension, and that's what they're reliant on, that one thing.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
That's risky.
Yeah.
And look, with all this stuff, we don't want to be doom and gloom. And we wish we're wrong. We wish this wasn't the case. We wish that these stats were, 95% of people are living the life that they've always dreamed of in retirement. But it just doesn't seem to be the case. And as things are changing over time, I don't know about you, Matt, but if anything ever changes, terms and conditions or anything like that, it's never for the better of the individual. They make changes, but it's never like when governments don't repeal loads of laws. They just add new laws on top. And I don't know whether the country gets any better when you just add another load of new laws. And James had his experience when he was in the army with his pension, and that changed.
My retirement for my pension, it changed twice while I was serving, and it wasn't for the betterment of the soldiers. And then it was changing the third time when I was leaving in 2013. It just gets worse and worse and worse. There's less money in our pockets, and it wasn't a great pension anyway. I'm grateful for having it, or having something I was grateful, but it wasn't going to set me up for life. And I realised that early on, and that's when I went on that journey outside of the army, just teaching myself, investing in my own education. So I didn't have to just rely on that pension, doing something for myself. And that's what we're talking about, touching on today too. It's just trying to be independent of the system as much as physically possible. Otherwise, you're at risk, in our view.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, look, here's the questions that we would be asking, and we think it's really good for people to ask to confront this retirement pension kind of topic, because most people just want to bury their heads. It's too complicated, it's ages away. We'll work it out then. But we think you should be asking the questions as soon as possible. And these are the questions. Is your pension sustainable? Are there a lot of people putting into the pot for you to take out of the pot? Because we've seen a lot of pensions in the news there's pension deficits. There's not enough people putting in for them people to take out. And it would be a real shame if you're one of the ones that has been putting in for 40 years, 50 years, and then you come to take out and it's been mismanaged or it's not sustainable because there's not enough people putting into it. So is it sustainable? Could it change? Could the terms and conditions change or change again? As James' experience was, it was changing a few times, and again, not for the betterment of the individuals. Is it linked to the stock market? And if it is, are you happy with that? Do you know what it's even invested in? Is it invested in things that are really risky, or is it, get up close and personal with your retirement, with your retirement accounts, your pension, that's going to sustain you and your family for later in life, and find out what these investments are. The other thing is, and this is a term that people might not have heard before, is, are the family benefits sufficient? And by family benefits, we mean, let's say the worst should happen. You've hit retirement and the worst should happen to you as an individual. Does your pension go to your family? Do they get 100% of it? Do they get 10% of it? Or does it all just go back to the pension company? Does it go to the government? Like, what happens? Is because this is about funding your lifestyle, but then your families as well.
You want them protected, don't you? Especially if they're reliant on you for bringing in the wage to pay for the mortgage and pay for the bills.
Which a lot of people now, as housing's very very high, unaffordable for a lot of people, the bank of mum and dad are then helping others out, helping their kids out. So you need to look at the whole picture. Is it on track to pay out what you need it to? I don't think many people, until they get to that 3 to 5 year period before they're due to retire, maybe even know what their pension is due to pay out. So it's really hard to plan your life when there's a lot of question marks. You don't know the answers.
I would say 99% of people have no idea, wouldn't be able to answer any of them questions.
Yeah, I would say so too. What flexibility do you have? can you do what you want at the other end with your retirement? Can you take the whole amount out, or can are you restricted? Is there only certain things that you can move your pension into? Can you invest in things that you want to? So look at the options. Just a point here, a family member of mine worked for the NHS for all of her working life, came to take a pension, decided that she wanted to work. She said, look, I'm fit and healthy and I want to work for a couple of days as well. And the reality is she could take her pension, she could work for a few days a week, but there was a limit on how much she could earn, and she couldn't earn more than she did when she was working full time. So there was some flexibility, but some limitations as well. So they give it you with one hand and they kind of take away your liberties with another, which is disheartening when you've worked all your life and you've worked really hard for that.
We speak to so many people in that position, don't we? That people that have left work, retired, and then they've had to go back to work too. It's really sad.
Yeah, and not because they want to, like we said before, because they have to.
Yeah.
And lastly, is your pension in your control? Do you feel like you're in the driving seat of something that is going to fund your lifestyle? Because at the end of the day, if you don't take responsibility for it, you're going to get to retirement, and the retirement company are just going to say, yeah, well, this is it. This is what you've got. And it's, they're not going to help you out any more than the pot that you've got. So we think people should really look into this, and as soon as possible.
Yeah, the cost of waiting can be very costly. Well, it will be very costly. The sooner you look at it, the better. I've buried my head in the sand many times in the past. I've learned the hard way, so I do understand that. Please, when you watch this, please look at it. Do something about it. We used to put together financial plans for families, and we used to type in the numbers and work out, what a family, if they said to us to live comfortably today, they would like to earn £3,000 a month or 5,000 a month, whatever. And we used to work out that, okay, would you like that in 20, 30 years' time then when you retire, that same amount of money? So we used to type the numbers in the system. We used to work out, including inflation, what that £3,000 a month would be in 20 years' time. It might be £5,000 a month or whatever. But it would work out what pot they would need to live a comfortable lifestyle at that age, at retirement. And most families would never meet it. No, I don't think I ever met a family that would ever have a big enough pot to live that lifestyle, to live comfortably, ever.
Yeah, it's sad, because then what you have two options at that point. You either increase the pot, which might mean doing different work or extra work or being creative, or you decrease your living standards and you decrease your expectations. And yeah, it's a sad position for people to be in. So look, we think there's three groups of people. The first group are people that have a retirement account pension, and they can't do anything with it. They might have asked all these questions and they've said, look, there's nothing I can do. I can't move it. There's no options for me. It is what it is. And that might be some people. There's loads of different versions of retirement accounts and pensions. And if that's you, then if we were in that position, we would want to have something independent of that we do control. So we say, look, it is what it is. We can't do that, but what can we do? And like a table, it doesn't have one leg. It doesn't rely on one leg. It has multiple legs for stability. So what we would do in that position, we love precious metals, and we'll talk about why precious metals are good for this job in a second. But we would start building our own thing outside the system that we can do what we want with at retirement to supplement what we've got with our retirement account. The second group of people that have a retirement account, a pension, and actually can move it, can do something with it. There are flexibilities. I know this might be very, very blunt, but if you find out you can do something, please then do something. Don't find out that you've got options, but then you don't use them. We have to mention US citizens here, because in the US, for some reason, it's very, very easy to move retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, and it's very, very easy and accessible to move your retirement account into metals, physical metals, which is a really positive step for a lot of people, because most of what they have is in the stock market, very volatile. So in other parts of the world, even in the UK, it's difficult and there's a lot of limitations. But in the US, for some reason, it's easy. So if people are in the US and they want to know how to do that, just get in touch with us and we'll help you and hold your hand on that journey.
I'm actually quite surprised, Adam, aren't we, that they're still able to do this with the
Yeah.
government being in place, with who's in power. So yeah, I mean, if I was a US citizen, I'd be taking advantage of that while it is still in. We're not saying we've been told there's any changes coming or anything like that, but
Yeah.
we're just very surprised that you are still able to do this. It's a massive advantage. You've got a massive advantage over the rest of the world. The rest of the world is made very difficult, as Adam, isn't it? From our experience and
Yeah.
from our
Yeah,
research and from what our customers have informed us, it's very difficult.
The US is the exception rather than the rule. Every other country that we've known it's difficult. The third group of people are people that don't have a retirement account or pension at all. And we would say to those people, please do something yourself. Retirement is going to happen. Age and that period of life happens, and it probably comes around quicker than we all think. As time does, it moves on very quickly. Set something up for yourself. I don't have a pension or retirement account in the typical sense, but I've done something myself that's independent, and it makes you walk with a different level of confidence and peace of mind, because you know that you're covered and you know that your loved ones are looked after, and that time of your life when is potentially a more fragile or vulnerable part of your life, that things are taken care of financially. Some things you can't control, but there's some things that you definitely can. Let me just go through a few reasons why we think precious metals tick the box for a long-term savings, long-term investment like pensions. And this is just our own thoughts on the research that we've done. Excuse me. So one, you're in control. You control this metal. You're not putting it in the hands of someone else. Excuse me, frog in my throat. And you've got full access to it. So at retirement age, you can decide, do I want to draw down the whole amount? Do I want to drip feed it? Do I want a little bit here, a little bit there? It's up to you. Often with pensions and retirement accounts, the company that you've had this funds with, they dictate what you can have and when you can have it. And we don't like that. We don't want to give up control for something that we've worked really hard all our life for. We want to draw it down when we want to, in the amounts that we want to. It's outside the system. So it's outside the banking system. You've got distance between the banking system and your retirement, and that helped people sleep at night. We've had messages of people saying, look, I had my retirement account in the excuse me, in the stock market, and it was all over the place. It's lost half its value, and then it's fluctuating all over the place. And we've now moved it into metals, and we know it's probably not going to rock it up, but we know we're not going to lose it all. It's going to be stable. And as you get later on in life towards retirement, protecting and securing what you've built up is the main goal. When you're a bit younger, you can maybe take a few more risks, and it's more about growth. But as you get closer and closer, you're wanting to lock in what you've built. Metals do that really well. Not a casino environment. So what we mean by this is, have you been to Vegas before, Matt?
I have.
Yeah, some amazing buildings there, right?
Yeah.
Those buildings were funded by people that have gone into those casinos with their hard-earned money. It's got to come from somewhere, right? And I think that's, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, definitely with your money. If you are gambling in those casinos, then your money's going to stay there. And casinos are very clever because they've got an edge, and they know that if enough people come through the door, that they'll win at the end of the day. Everything's just slightly in their favor. And this is the same with pension companies. How can they be so big, employ so many people, have such a big presence around the world? Where do they get that money from? It's from people contributing to their pensions. And with a casino, you are against the casino. When you're playing blackjack, you're against the dealer. There's someone on the other side that's trying to win win your money and you're trying to win their money. With a pension, it's a similar kind of environment. They are in the business of making money. So metals is not that. There's not someone at the other end that's trying to make money from your money. And there's a big difference that gives you such peace of mind again. So that's another reason why we like metals. Another one is you're not reliant on others to contribute. So you don't need people to keep putting into the pot so that you can take out of the pot. You know, when we hear about these pension deficits, it's heartbreaking, but you're not reliant with metals. And the last thing here is historically, and please do your own research with this, those that have owned metals have thrived over time. It's just the nature of what metals do, the qualities of metals. So I guess what we would say from all of this is, please don't bury your head in the sand. It's very tempting when it's something that is seemingly complicated and something that is could be far away. Please do something. Get face to face with what your pension, your retirement account is like. If we can help in any way, then please get in contact with us. There's no, we just give you the information, and then it's over to you. And if it's something that you think could benefit you and help you, great. If not, no problem. It's all about the individual and what you can do for yourselves and for your family. But please don't do nothing. That would be the worst thing that you can do. I remember hearing once, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The second best thing you can do is the wrong thing, but the worst thing you can do is nothing. It's better to do the wrong thing and realize it's the wrong thing and turn back than just, as James says, sit on the fence and get a sore backside.
I think the one thing that I would that came out of that for me, Adam, was that the most important bit was the bit that tells you it's outside of the banking system.
Yes.
I think what's happened to Nigel Farage
yes. Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Crucially important.
Exactly.
That you can do as much as you possibly can to stay outside of that banking system, because as we've seen, it's a big risk. Just by thinking the wrong things, you can be debanked.
Yeah, and imagine if you've got all of your retirement with one institution, and you say something that they don't like, and then everyone else follows suit. I know with Nigel Farage, I was following it quite closely, and there was 9 or 10 bank accounts that he'd applied for that he'd been refused. Yeah. So they're all kind of in it together, that you get rejected from one, and it's almost as if there is a central database that they're all getting this information from, and there's a red mark against your name, and that's it. So I totally agree with you, Matt. Being independent, which then puts you in control, is the key. So yeah, we urge people do something, and then you can have full free speech, because you're not reliant on anyone else to you've not got to kind of go to the beat of someone else's drum. You can do and say what you want. I'm sure you've had that experience, Matt.
Yeah, very much so. It's been an interesting few years from that perspective, and I guess there have been times when I've thought, blimey, should I really say that? Because if I say that, this might happen to me. Fortunately, I've come to the conclusion that I think it's far too important to not say anything. So I've came to the conclusion that I have to speak out and I have to say something. And if that means there's repercussions, then I'm willing to fight those repercussions as and when they come along. Sure.
That what you were talking about before, when you're questioning whether you should say something, I think that's really powerful, because it's a form of like self-censoring. You start to self-censor because of the things that might have happened to other people, and then the job is being done for these people because you're censoring yourself, and they don't have to do anything. They make an example of a couple of people, and everyone else takes note and changes course. And I think the really great thing about Nigel Farage, whether you love him or hate him for what he's done in the past or what he stands for, is he has been very public. He's gone out of his way to talk about all of this, been very vulnerable with all the information, and he said, I'm going to keep fighting this fight, and I'm not going to stop. and that can only be a good thing, putting the power back in the people's hands.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more, mate.
Well, I've been itching to say something, guys, but he's been screaming and carrying on in the background. So, haven't you, Mister? Hey, so yeah, I've been itching, but yeah, you covered everything now. I think people, hopefully, after watching this, they've got the message, haven't they? It's just to
Hope
try and
so.
be as independent as possible in every way possible, not just finance, but anywhere you can.
Yeah. There's some great information in there, and I think you're right. I think the worst thing you can do is do nothing.
Yeah, do something, and if we can help you on that journey, great. But ask questions, ask loads of questions of us, of you know, any provider that you've got, and take back control.
Great words.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks so much, Matt, for joining us, and it's just great to be part of a community of people that are all pulling in the same direction and wanting to empower other people.
Yeah.
And it
decentralize, go local, do whatever you can, not be reliant on. That's a great message.
And support your local farmers, things like that. Just anything like that. That's what we're trying to do more. You know, support them rather than the big corporations, the big, you know, the big companies, the big supermarkets, and what have you. And it's fun, isn't it? When you're in school holidays, when you've got your little one at home,
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
good luck,
mister. Hey, yeah. Thanks.
Great.
I'll need it, I think. You take care, Matt.
Yeah, thanks so much, Matt. We'll speak soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.